All right. We will get started here today. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this month's edition of State of the Castle. Obviously, I am subbing in for Tyler this month, and we'll still give my normal update. I just got a text from him because he couldn't wait to connect with the castle. Him and his family have made it back. As of a half hour ago, landed in Chicago. So he will be back Monday, I'm sure with many stories and photos to share of their family outing in South Korea. So that will be great. Again, we will try and make this meeting, I know many of you are hoping to go to a meditation at 1:30. We heard of that, so we will work on getting everyone out of here, hopefully not too far after 1:30 today. But first, I would like to make an introduction of our new therapy manager, Anton Vansimer. So I'm going to have Anton come on up and give a 10-second elevator speech about himself. And welcome him, as he's now 60 days on the job, or 45 roughly?
Something like that.
Come on up.
So, all right. Hi, my name's Anton. Again, I've been here for about 2 months. My title is therapy manager. So still getting my feet wet, but I think everything's been going smooth so far. The biggest announcement that I would have is that I'm going to be starting a monthly kind of like education thing right here in Lindsay Hall. And the first one is next week, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And I'll just be kind of talking about the benefits of therapy, if there's a need for therapy, how we could go about getting you on the therapy caseload and setting all those things up. So other than that, you'll see me kind of walking around the building. I'm kind of learning the building in general, so I'm staying over there and not getting lost yet. So, but obviously as I look forward to growing the caseload and working with some of you guys in IL and AL, I'll kind of learn my way around a little bit more. So.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thanks,
So,
Anton.
thank you guys.
Wonderful. And Anton offices out of the 5th floor therapy gym. So if you ever stop on up or need to get a hold of him, the front desk can navigate your call, or else don't be a stranger to the health center. And then next I'll bring up Jill for resident council update.
She's back. Okay, a couple of things. First of all, the election of the resident council positions will happen on May the 7th and 8th. You can vote in the library, the main library, from 11 to 1 and 4 to 5:30 on both days. It's important that you vote. The candidates are Jane Peterson, Marilyn John, Joanne Peer, Bob Faraday, and then Richard Knadler and I are running for a second term. So we have 6 positions to vote for. 5 positions. Sorry, 5 positions to vote for. I also want to send out a thanks to Kathy Johnson and Barbara Hill, who have been the election committee. They have organized everything. They have gotten everybody to get their bios in and their pictures in, so they will appear in the May newsletter, which comes out next week. There will be more signage that goes up in the hallway outside of Gilman here to let you know more about the candidates, but hopefully you'll get to know them if you don't already. I'd also like to send out a special thanks to Pat Crump, who will be leaving the council and is not running for re-election. So thank you, Pat. My other big thing today has to do with my thanks, first of all, our thanks, first of all, to those people, those residents who either do a program or suggest a program or a class or an event. Think Kathy Barnes and this incredible 6-week painting pointillism class she has done. Think Paul Halbrick, who will be doing a wonderful visit to the churches with Tiffany windows in May. Think Ann Gordon, who has organized the Derby Day event that will happen next Saturday. And thank Pat Crump again for leading the choir. If you know of someone, a speaker from the outside that you think would be fabulous to bring in, if you yourself have the skills that you'd like to teach a class, or do a presentation or program, there is a very simple way to do that. In the library, on the desk, is a black file basket. In the very back of that basket are forms that look like this. You simply go get a form, you complete it, you turn it in at the front desk and they turn it over to Evan. And then at the Lifestyle Committee twice a month, we discuss, well, we have this proposal, we have this program, we have this class that could be offered. Not everything can be offered right away, but we certainly consider every single thing. So thank you so much, and happy April.
Afternoon, everyone. There we are. I'll jump right into the questions, because it seems I have several of them today. So, a few of the questions here. First one is, please can we change out the plastic flowers? They're not seasonal. Looking for different flowers, daffodils, and bulbs. That specific one doesn't really give me the context of where exactly. Whoever put that question, just please stop by and see me. I can address that individually. Happy to do that, I guess is the point. And I'd say with a lot of these questions, the way I kind of take a lot of them, again, feel free to reach out, but a lot of the way I take some of these concerns is I try to work through the committees that you've put in place. So a lot of times I'll work with the garden committee when we get some of these projects and make sure that we're all on the same page. Next question, what exactly is the plan and timeline for the courtyard? For example, adding arborvitaes and other plants, fire pit, more shade, so on and so forth. A couple things to remember, it's still April. I tried to honor the request of getting some patio furniture out there early for the days that are nice. Obviously this week it looks gorgeous outside until you step out there and realize it's only 36 degrees. But this weekend we'll have a nice day. Last weekend, Sunday was really nice. So we tried just to get some furniture out with umbrellas so if folks want to go outside, it's there and present for them. We'll probably wrap up, I would say no later than mid next week, getting all the furniture in its final places, umbrellas out there, and so on and so forth. That includes the gazebo courtyard, and then we do scatter some benches around the property for those that like to take a walk. They have a place to take a break. I'll come back to a question in the courtyard, but I'm going to keep going through the questions at this moment. What are the PFAs in our water? How much plastic is in our flooring? When we wipe it down, brown stain in the damp cloth. This is a microplastic. How can we reduce the use of plastics here at ECP? To break that up, so PFAs are basically just the forever chemicals, is a simple term, that you find in water. I do not monitor the water here. That is City of Milwaukee's obligation to monitor the water coming into all these communities. And if you go on the website and read up on it, they actually have a pretty strict monitoring program on PFAs. So they are doing their job as far as making sure they keep as many of those plastics out of the water that we're drinking as possible. If at any time you do feel any sort of a concern, you know, what you're reading is only part of the story. There's many filtration systems. You can just get the filtration jugs if you want to drink your water out of there. There's nothing wrong with any of those. But I don't test for PFAs. I only test for Legionella because it's a requirement that we use with the state. So we have to meet that as part of our water management plan. So that is the one thing I do per year is I go ahead and test for Legionella. When it talks about the flooring, yes, a lot of floorings nowadays, it's not real wood. It's a composite, which does have some plastic in it. A lot of our flooring is that type. I don't see us shifting away from that. Your options aren't that great. I think we have too many spills here to go to an engineered hardwood. You're going to have a lot of damaged floors that are only way to fix that is replacing it. If you go to hardwood floors, that has different effects. I don't know if that's something we can do. Hardwood's a lot thicker. It's going to affect a lot of the doorways and things like that. And then my luck, I'll get the complaints that it's too noisy and too echoey in people's apartments or above and below apartments. With the flooring that's put in now, it's meant to look wood grain, but it does have about, I believe it's about 7 millimeters of a padding underneath the floor. Sometimes that's cork, sometimes that's foam, it's a variety of different things. But we use cork here. It's part of our underlayment that we put on the floors. As far as reduction of plastic, again, I would recommend kind of working with the environmental committee, and they can reach out to me. We can work on if there's certain things you have a focus on that you want to see us reduce that's feasible. I'm happy to listen to those opportunities and see what we can do. Next resident question: when do the patios be washed? We don't have any sort of setup to pressure wash everyone's patios. That's more of a case-by-case basis, and it'll probably happen here in the next month. We just need to get a little bit warmer before I'm laying hoses outside before freezing, much like last night when we had freezing temperatures. But I do have one work order in, so if that's the same person, I'll be scheduling that with you so we get your patio washed. If anyone else has a need for it, most times it's the folks on the first floor. Your concrete gets a little bit of kind of a mildewing. It's that darkish kind of black or brown that you get on the concrete. Happy to come out and pressure wash that out for you. What are the doors in the courtyard of Lindsay Hall never locked? The doors we're talking about are these doors right out here. They should be locked. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. I will, during the day they are unlocked, but they should be locked in the evening hours.
Excuse me, Eric, I think they
Yes.
were referring to these doors.
Oh, these doors here?
Yeah.
They should be locked. So I can make sure they're locked.
Locked.
No, they do. They're not. There's no deadbolts is the point. These ones actually, they're called security locks. So when we put our master key in, we can turn it an extra rotation and it locks the door. So now at that point, you can use a key, but it automatically locks behind it. So we can have those doors locked. It's not a problem at all.
Should be good, it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, we can make sure they're locked.
The doors in the hallway out here don't even close completely, even in the dead of winter, the cold air was coming in.
There's the problem is, I don't know, when they did some construction, there's a pin that goes in the stationary door, that there's no hole for that pin. So we're looking to have that taken care of so we get the pin back in the door. Once the door is in the position it needs to be, when it closes, you'll have a continuous seal from floor to ceiling. I'll see if that's taken care of. Going back to the courtyard, I know there's been lots of questions about kind of what we're doing out there. I guess what I would say is I'm thankful first that we're using the right pathways, if you will, because there's a lot of opinions. Just trying to get it down to one that everyone can agree upon, which tends to be the committee that you're putting in place. So I've worked with the garden committee. I would say, 2 months ago I sat down with a bunch of folks and I got your opinions on things you want me to focus on. That's really what it's there for. It's there for me to say, hey, this is what we already have scheduled for either tree maintenance, lawn fertilization, it could be when we expect to do annual plantings, when we're doing the pots, any opinions. And specifically what came up was the courtyard, and just really what came away from it was adding green to it. I put some proposals together for Tyler we should have sometime towards the end of next week. And we're going to be adding some arborvitaes along the ramp portion of the building wall. So we may be, again, I have to get Tyler's approval on that. He has not seen that yet. But we'll be looking at potentially saw cutting some concrete out, adding some dirt, and putting some arborvitaes and some bushes in there to add some color and some greenery year round. We're also looking at potentially bringing some pots with some plants and trees in the courtyard to brighten it up. I guess what I would say is this: try to be as patient as you can. One, spring came really early for us, and we're still kind of in the middle of it, where it's getting hot and cold, so we really haven't fully set up for summer. If you could just remain patient until we get, usually it's past Mother's Day. Mother's Day is that first marker for us to make sure we get all the pots planted around the property. That's really the beginning of summer for us. And then we usually get all the annuals and perennials in the ground before Memorial Day. So those are kind of markers for us to get everything else caught up to speed. I appreciate the garden committee brought it to my attention with time for me to put things in place to get the greenery added out there. So I would encourage, if you have more opinions or thoughts, again, not everything gets into plans, but you're taking it through the right committee. And if there's enough people that have the same opinion, we're certainly going to work hard to meet your expectations. So I think greenery was added. We're going to make sure we get it out there. I just got to get those proposals and get them approved first, and then we'll get it done before summer. All right, next up will be Evan.
Pete, can I ask one question?
Sure, yeah.
A week or two ago, there was a company coming through to check the air filters or something.
Oh, sure, thank
And
you. I
then
can,
about noon, we got a message that they were stopping. I never heard what happened on that.
I can shed some light on that. So what that was, what that's all about, to give you perspective, it wasn't Lake Terrace. It's all, that was specific only to Lake Terrace. There was, there's the way the air handler is set up in the hallways, they're supposed to be accessible for us to remove and put filters in. Well, unfortunately, 2 through 4, they are not. So we can't change the filters in them, which would be a problem. And again, remind yourselves that that's not necessarily like an air quality thing. Think about it this way: as your filter gets dirtier, you're going to collect more. There's going to be less passageways for dirt to get through, or for air to get through. What I worry about is it's starving of air, and then you don't get it hot enough, or you don't get it cold enough in your room because not enough air is passing over the coil. That's really the primary concern. That's why it has to get done. So we work with Butters Fitting, the ones that put the system in. So the solution that's come about has your main air return is the register by the door that pulls air out of your apartment and then runs it through the air handler. That grate's going to come down, and they're going to put a grate in place that actually has a swing gate on it and a filter rack built into that vent. And so that's where we'll change the filter out annually, and they're going to remove the filters from the air handlers, because we can get them out by cutting them out, but I can't get a nice new one in there without ruining it. So this is a solution to make sure that we're able to change out those filters on a regular basis, as opposed to what it is now. What happened was, when they came on site, I got a call at 8 o'clock that the crew is here to put them all in, and they misjudged their measurements. You have a 16-inch grill, and they got a 16-inch vent. Well, they don't fit. They needed an overlap so they could actually secure it over the top of the vent. So they had to reorder, unfortunately. That's why the memo was sent out that it was canceled. I do not have a timeline on that. I'm still waiting for the materials to come in and then get them on the schedule, and then I'll send another letter out. I apologize for the delay, but they just kind of ordered the wrong product, and thankfully they didn't push forward with the wrong product. And on a positive note, I would have hated to see, because they would have had to cut drywall out, and that would have been a big mess for all of you. We don't need those problems. Changing out a grate that's 15 minutes is one thing. Cutting into drywall is a whole different thing that we have to schedule. So when the new grates come in, we'll send out the memo.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Matt.
That is, yesterday I got a wonderful example of what a test is for fire alarms.
Sure.
And if you've already answered this question, I think I can talk to you offline. And that is, I dropped low, felt the door, made sure there was no fire out there, knew how to get outside.
Mm-hmm.
Then to find out maybe all I had to do was stay in my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, we'll group talk and give us some steps as folks who, residents, as to what we are really expected to have to do in case of automobile.
Sure, that's no problem. That question comes up periodically. To speak to that, we had a resident event on the 4th floor. The cooking show created a little bit too much smoke and set off the fire alarm system. It's a good test. It works like it's supposed to. It also, unfortunately, took down the E elevator in the process. Otis has been out to rectify that for us. But what you should do in a fire, it comes up when we get new residents, because, I mean, what do you do? That's a great point. We tend to fight fires in place. So like your homes, you would go outside your home, because the containment of the fire, you can't contain the fire until the fire department arrives. Honestly, here, the fire department will be here within 5 minutes, but the honest to God truth is, we have early detection systems, that's your smoke detection, and then we have sprinklers all over the place. This building's not burning down. Every square inch of it is sprinklered. We have a flood problem, that's what we have. Which is really a blessing. I mean, that's kind of the security and peace of mind you want. Water we can rectify. We can get crews in here that'll come out, dehumidify, get the water out. But just rest assured, we're not going to have a building that's going to burn down. But yes, Pat, you want to stay in your home. Because really at that point, I've seen it where smoke has filled hallways. Your door is actually a fire-rated door. That's why a lot of them are on springed hinges, because the city has a city requirement when they complete the building. They have to be spring shut. So in the event of a fire, if you're not able to get to your door is going to close. That's why they don't really like door stops, even though we do use them at times. But yeah, stay in your home. The most of it you want to do is, if you see a gap at the bottom of your door, take a damp towel, throw it at the bottom of your door to keep any smoke out. And then you would stay in your home. You could go into your patio, especially in Lake Terrace. You could go on your patio if necessary. In the winter, I wouldn't recommend that, but stay in your home is the most obvious solution. Oh, a couple more. You really spurred it on there, Pat.
I don't know if our door is an exception, but at night you can see light all the way around it to the hallway.
Yeah, if you have that, like I say, if you see something like that, please let me know. We'll go ahead and put some extra weather stripping on there. Oftentimes the building shifts and some of those doors come out of alignment. It's where the hinges point. We either have to shim the hinges out, shim them in to get it to meet. What you're looking to meet is the, it's the door shoe that goes all the way around. It's got to meet tight to that. If it doesn't, we'll add insulation so it meets a little tighter. Yes?
I was wondering, is the same thing true if we're not in our apartment when the fire alarm goes off, if we're in the creativity center or the gym area or the theater? Is it also best to stay in those places?
You mentioned a lot of different areas, specifically theater as an example. That will operate just like a standard room. You would close the door and stand, fight the fire in place. I would say if you're in one of the creativity rooms and such, some of those doors are not fire rated. It's the most obvious thing is the glass. So if you notice our stairwells, you notice how it has this strip with the window with glass and it has the metal in between? That's a fire rated glass. That's a fire rated door. The creativity room door is just a sheet of glass that's not going to be fire rated, especially because there's a vent right down there that's probably open. So I would say creativity center would be a no. Although again, that does have sprinklers because the smoke's the real concern. It's not so much the fire. I would say at that point, returning to your room, if you want to just stick with a standard message, in your apartment is the best place to be. If maintenance or other East Castle personnel stop you because there's smoke that's engulfed the hallway, then I think we would get you to a local area that has some sort of secondary smoke door.
Okay, because the elevators would not be working to get us to our apartments.
Nope, you'd be doing stairs, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll notice a lot of the ones over in Lake Terrace. Contemporary is contemporary and historic are the exclusions. Lake Terrace and Bradford Terrace during the remodels, oftentimes when you do over 60% of the building as far as renovations, they require you to bring up your fire code. And one of those additions was the fire curtains. And the fire curtains did deploy yesterday like they're supposed to, and they retracted like they're supposed to, so that was nice to see. That's why we do that annual testing once a year to make sure that they go and check all those things. Yes?
So you mentioned the E-elevator being taken off because of the cooking smoke. Do you know
Yes.
when it's going to come back online?
I haven't checked it since lunch, but they were supposed to be out here before noon. We did call them yesterday and try to get them out here. They were going to try to make it by the end of the day, and I was told they'd be out in the morning. So that's the message we sent out, but I'll go verify that it's out. Hmm? Yes, Joe?
Just mentioning that in your resident handbook, there is a whole section on fire safety, what to do when you're in your apartment, if the fire's inside your apartment, what to do if you're in the hallway, where to go if you cannot do steps, what to do about that. There is a list at the front desk apparently that if you are a person who cannot navigate stairs, then you need to be on that list, because what happens when the fire personnel come, they are told these apartments have people in them that cannot get out on their own, and they go first to those apartments. So read that section of your handbook.
Great addition, Joe. That's exactly right. It's a special list we have at the front desk for that.
And the historic building with no outside access has special instructions also listed in the handbook.
There you go.
And I think it's a bright gold page.
Okay. Yeah, you can familiarize yourself with that. But in many cases, we don't really talk about evacuation. The fire department's going to tell you that at the time of, and they coordinate with us on those efforts. But in most cases, when in doubt, stay in your home is the best place to be. Unfortunately, especially over Lake Terrace, it's going to ring really loud in your apartment until we silence those horns. So forgive us for that. Yes, Ms. Mark?
Would it have been possible to, knowing there was cooking going on directly under the fire alarm, would it have been possible to turn them off temporarily?
That's not a good
Eric,
idea.
can you repeat that? Can you repeat what you said?
The question was, if we're going to do an event such as that, where we're going to have smoke, we're going to have different things, can we turn them off? I think it was a great idea to try to get some activities into Lake Terrace, but I think in that instance we kind of learned that it might be, especially for cooking, it might be a more appropriate place for that. We really should have some sort of ventilation, because furthermore, what I don't want to see is the sprinklers go off, because those heads are 150 degrees. So if it gets warm, and it's not necessarily the heating surface, it's the steam coming off of it. That's why these grids are set up the way they are. That's called our smoke ceiling. And that's why we have to have all the ceiling tiles in place, so that the smoke sits on the ceiling and it gets hot enough around the sprinkler head to set it off. So steam could do the same thing. So I think we'll find a different location that kind of maybe is more appropriate for the crowd. Okay, on to Adam, I think. Thanks, Adam. Good afternoon, everyone. Has anyone had a chance to pick up a May activity calendar? Or seen an email with some of that information? Wonderful. Please see those emails. There's lots of information that go out about things that are newer, that maybe not have been on the calendar before. Looking forward to May, there's lots of new stuff going on, whether it's in-house or community activities. One change we are making is with the activity calendars and sign-up sheets. We had separate times on different sheets. So we had what time you should meet, what time you were going to leave, what time we're going to be there. So we're going to put only the departure time from now on, just to create some less confusion. Obviously, if you're signed up for an activity and you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I can clarify some of that, especially if you plan on driving yourself in those situations. But we're just going to put the departure times from now on, so that should be the time you should be downstairs, ready to go, ready to be picked up. All right? And then I have a few questions in regards to resident questions. So the first one, as a new resident, I'm interested in finding out more about spa services. It seems like there needs to be more hours open for business. So I do see a couple of new faces. Our spa services are contracted through a third party. So we don't have control over more hours or when they come. They kind of give us a set schedule. So we have our spa services, and we also have our massage services on Saturday. So Saturday, like I said, is the massage therapist, and then the salon is open from 9 till 1 on Thursdays. So there's also Bradford Terrace Spa, but that's more for our Bradford Terrace residents, but you're more than welcome to set up a appointment down there as well. Second question. Are all centers like the Wellness Center, Activity Center, etc. should have their hours shown in the Touchtown app? So my thinking when we originally relaunched the app was to kind of keep it simple, not to overwhelm folks too much. So I will meet with the communications committee and we'll kind of identify some more information that should be put on the app. Whether it's times of things being open, whether it's other services East Castle provides, maybe it's community services. We'll work with the communications committee and identify some of that stuff and get that information out. And I just want to thank, go off of what Joe said. I want to thank all the residents. I know the Woodards have done a performance, or I shouldn't say performance, a presentation. Mr. Halbrick has done things, Mrs. Sundberg has done things. Kathy Barnes always is doing some type of art class. Thank you so much. Really, that's really the community we want to build, where the residents are empowered to do things like that. So please, if you have any interest in doing something, if you're hesitant, we can meet, we can go over details. Would love to help you and spread that information to the rest of our community. So, yeah. Any questions for me? Helga?
Are there going to be pictures of everybody in that community app? There's a lot of new people who don't have pictures.
Sure.
Yet.
So,
Old people too.
we...
And old people.
So, it is up to residents to upload their pictures. So we can absolutely think of ways we can foster that. But my biggest thing would be nudge your neighbor to update that. So we've had a few touchdown sessions. Would probably be open to having more, but that's more up to the resident itself if they want to go do that. I have no problem if the resident reaches out to me, needs a little bit extra help. If you need assistance with getting pictures up there, same with bios as well. Yeah.
And also the staff. It would be nice to have staff pictures in there.
I will get to work on that. We'll get our staff in gear. Mr. Knadler.
In the movie theater, when you walk into the movie theater, there's a light, bright light, that is the same type that's in the hallways. It's not directly in the theater, it's in the little alcove as you go into it. I had a couple people comment about, is it possible to dim that? Because none of the switches on the wall control that particular light. My response has been, is I believe it's tied into the hallway lights, and there's regulations about those lights being on.
Eric might have some. Mr. Trent.
Just to add to
Yes.
that. My wife and I, Linda and I, we saw a movie last night. We had to sit through the whole thing with our head covered like this. I mean it.
Sure.
It's really bad in that damn room there.
So maybe Aaron can help shed some light on this, literally and figuratively. But there are certain lights that I believe they just are not going to go off. Their security or.
What I would say is I don't want to make any assumptions. I can go look at it and report back at the next day.
Sit in the last row.
It's not fair, like, was the door?
It's in the
No,
theater.
the door is open. I can understand the reason why you do that. It's the light that's up in the ceiling there. It's so strong, yes.
Maybe a shade. It's in the theater.
Yeah.
I know there's a few lights in here as well. They're trying to turn everything off.
I don't know if closing the door is a legal thing.
Oh, yeah, we can look.
With
Light on the inside.
yeah, closing the door would not have
Yeah, I know there's also a few lights in Lindsay Hall that do not turn off, just with hitting the switch. Celeste.
We're not on the agenda, but we just like to say something about the new containers.
Sure.
Should I come up?
Sure. Any other questions for me? All right. Mike, your boots get.
Is some coming up? Okay.
It's more in the main,
Yes. Yeah. No, get to
Thanks.
Mike's got something else.
Okay, thank you. Susan McInnish for the green team, and our apartment tends to be one of the most frequent users of these new containers. And I don't know if you have had the privilege, but they are a vast improvement. I mean, the food is held better and tastes better and looks better and you name it. And the rinsing of the container is nothing, and it sits in my sink and then I bring it back. But today I'm just wondering, and all the other green team people who are here, if there are any initial concerns, problems, new habits, gonna take a while. Yes.
Yeah, I use the green dishes. I don't know if you pointed at me or somebody else, but we didn't call first, and that's what and I think those are they're excellent. My concern is, how do they know when I return them? Because I think I'm going to be charged for them if I,
No, there'll be none of,
everybody.
Just put it down.
Well, then I rescind my question.
yeah. Good. That's easy.
Then I rescind my
Yes.
question.
The place to return them is overflowing with containers all over the place. We need a better place to return them.
Okay, yeah, Majarka isn't here today, and we almost didn't even bring this up. But we do want to get input from you, so thank you very much. And I have my notepad, and we'll jot it down, and we'll, kind of solve these things as they emerge. So I hope we're good.
And I can make a plug because obviously I'm answering Majarka's question and she wanted me to bring up, thank you, the green containers too, even though they didn't make the agenda. It is a work in progress, obviously thank you, it is a work in progress. And in terms of the disposal and return area of them, we are looking for what would be an appropriate, more probably sizable bin that we can put them in, because again, I know right now we're putting them in a garbage can that then has
Forget that.
no, yep, exactly. So it's a work in process, like I said. But again, for the time being, please put them in where that little server station is, and then the staff will collect them. And then we are getting a bin of sorts so that the team can appropriately wash them. It's not overflowing, but again, they are minorly awkward, if you fold them and so on. So, but we appreciate you rinsing them out, because then you're not getting any bugs, you're not getting any, ill-smelling area and so on. So it's a work in progress, though.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks a lot.
And now back to Mike.
Yep.
Thank you, Lindsay. And it'll be back to Lindsay in just a minute. I only have one thing on the agenda here, so I won't take more than a half an hour. I do want to point out that this past month we had yet another one of your neighbors sign up for a monthly contract for the Employee Appreciation Fund. If you've not done so yet and you want to do so, it's a very simple process. Come and see me. By the time September rolls around, which will be the official kickoff for our Employee Appreciation Fund, based on the contracts we have signed already, we'll have over $6,000 raised for the Employee Appreciation Fund. So that's a real nice jump start to the fund. So consider doing that. Come and talk to me if you have any questions. I also sat in last week on a seminar on donor advised funds. I know there are at least 2 of your neighbors that have a donor advised fund already. If you have one, there is a way to use your annual distribution from that for things like our Employee Appreciation Fund, and it costs you nothing because you created that donor advised fund months ago or years ago or whatever, and you detail how you want those funds distributed. If you want to talk to me about that because you have a donor advised fund, let me know. You can be a contributor to the Employee Appreciation Fund, and it will cost you nothing out of your own pocket. So come and see me if you're interested. This past month I worked with a group of your neighbors on an issue. It was the Low Vision Support Group. They had a guest speaker here talking about PBS Passport. If any of you are familiar with that, it's the video on demand program. The PBS license in Milwaukee is held by Milwaukee Area Technical College, so it's local, right downtown here. Unfortunately, the person who came out here didn't answer most of those questions that really are germane to helping people get set up. We've talked to them downtown. My good friend Kim Sosa is going to be coming out in May. If you have PBS Passport and you can't figure out how to get it to work, come that day. She and an associate are going to join her. They're going to give a presentation on how it works, and then they'll go up into your individual apartments. If you're having trouble with it, she'll go to your apartment and she'll help you get it set up. Evan and I suggested 3 dates to Milwaukee PBS. We hoped to have advertised that in the May calendar. PBS hasn't committed to one of those 3 dates yet. So somehow, I'm not sure how, but somehow Evan, through his magic, will spread the word when we have it, and we hope that you will all come to that. I want to point out to you that the cookbook has been slightly delayed, but for a very good reason. A lot of you came in at the last minute with your favorite family recipes. Maureen is extremely busy right now. She's doing the typesetting and the photography for the layout of the book. It's been delayed about a month, but I'm thinking maybe in June, Maureen, do you think we may have that cookbook available for people? So check out the Castle cookbook when it's available. It's in honor of our 140th anniversary, and I think it's going to be really special. And again, it's recipes from all of you. I also want to bring you up to date on our 140th dinner. It will be September 14th at St. Kate's, the Arts Hotel. We've already been reaching out to many of our corporate partners at East Castle Place. 7 of them have already signed up as major sponsors for the evening, and we've raised $20,000. We're going to be continuing that effort leading up to September. We have about another 7 or 8 that have told us that they will likely sign on, but you know how working through corporations, how that all works. Because of that, many of these corporate sponsors, because of the size of their sponsorship, are getting a free table. We already have 50 attendees committed for the evening. So when those tickets become available in about 2 months, don't delay. I mean, we do have limited seating that night. If you want to come, again, a lot of the tickets, maybe as many as half, are going to be going to our sponsors who are subsidizing the night. Be sure you sign up for it right away. How much is it going to cost? I don't know. We'll know in about a month when we get the final the menu set and stuff like that. St. Kate's is basing their fees to us on our menu for the night. And so we will get you all up to date on that. I also was asked a question this past month and I gave the wrong answer. Someone who had lived here, for 5 years or longer, remembers when we had big, huge 3 by 6 foot ceiling and wall speakers, and they wanted to know what happened to them. And I told them, that they're up there. I didn't understand what the question was, and in many cases, like I always do, I just made up an answer. In reality, those big speakers are in the back in the maintenance department. They will never be used again. The speakers that we have in the ceilings now are actually better than those speakers that we had. And we took those big ones down because one fell on somebody. It fell off the ceiling and fell on him. And there she is right there. She pulled it down and it hit her in the head and she went, no. It fell off the ceiling. So we took it down. Those speakers are never going to be coming back again. So those of you who go back many years and remember them, that is the answer to that. And last but not least, there will be a new issue coming to the Community Enrichment Fund. Someone has come to me with a question about gardening and what can be done with that. So things may be coming forth in the near future about that as well. Are there any questions I can answer for anybody? I'm going to hand it back to Lindsay, who's going to bring it home.
Thank you, Mike. Excellent. And he took my agenda. He was so excited to answer all your questions. Oh, so my update will be short and sweet. Again, one question that was submitted for Majorca, but today's her birthday, so she had a day off. I'm considering reducing my meal plan to 400 points. Why is there only a $50 saving when it's a $200 value? I want to remind everyone that the point system does not compute $2. I know we've talked about that in the past, that it is not dollar for dollar and so on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If you go over, you're charged $1 for a point.
So we'll table that thought that when you go over, it's $1 per point. But in totality, it technically is not $1, or it is not $1 per dollar for what you're ordering on the menu. So, because technically, if we used real dollars for the food, the menu items would cost more. Again, the flexible meal points, as I mentioned, don't directly equate to dollars. Your meal plan, the $50 discount is a benefit of choosing the lesser points. So, I think that's something, if you're considering, I would recommend, connecting with Majorca one-on-one, but as always, it is not direct dollar for dollar for that 600.
Except when you go over.
Except when you go over, correct.
That doesn't make sense.
And that I can't speak to, or else I'm going to pull a mic and tell you guys false hope that I'm going to have to correct myself on next month. So we'll table that one where Majorca, as the subject matter expert of the computing of those point system, can help further clarify that. And then last, oh yes, Sandra.
If in fact you're out of town for at least 14 days or more, then for every point or every day, you get $10 back.
So the statement was, if you are out of town for 14 days or more, for every day you're gone, you get $10 back. So there is some leeway if you go to Florida or you take a long vacation. You go to South Korea, like Tyler in that sense. Please just let Tanya and the team know. Yeah.
I'm wondering about the budget for food. Where does it come from? Is it all the money that goes into the food budget from our putting in either $600 or $400, or where does the money come from?
So the budget for food, we do allocate it per person. There is a per person daily fee that we account when we go through our budgeting process. It is for how we pay for that. Obviously, it's part of through our monthly service fees and the daily rates of areas throughout the community of the revenue that's brought in based on raw food costs, labor, general overhead, as well as keeping the lights on, certain things that essentially to operate a kitchen.
So it doesn't all go for food?
It does not all go for food, no,
Well,
because
how
it
much
is
goes
similar
for food?
to a restaurant setting in that sense, where obviously it's getting prepared by someone else and so on, and then delivered to you. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what is allocated directly from that to food. But come June, budgeting season is amongst us because our year end is September 30th, so there will be a budget presentation, and I recommend that you all attend that, and obviously we will go over the budget here and we can talk further about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then my last, oh yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. We get a statement early in the month that says we're gonna be paid out automatically out of our checking account. What day is it taken out? Because it's several weeks, and is that number the one that's gonna be used? Or could there be changes in the meantime?
So the question was about the invoice, or essentially the pre-bill that you get early in the month for that upcoming month that Judy sends. Directly the day that it's pulled from your checking account through ACH, I don't have that exact date off the top of my head, but I can find that out and we can put that for next month's meeting. But it is the same amount every month, unless you had individual charges that you independently charged that Judy would bill separately. And those would go under in separate line items. So you went over your 600 points and it's charged per dollar, and you need to be charged $40 for taco night, it would say that separately rather than pulled out of your monthly service fee line on your invoice. Good questions. Any other questions on that? I just wanted to bring up COVID. Right now we don't have any COVID in the building, which is fantastic. I do want to make a plug though that the flu is going around. It's late this year, which is interesting. We've seen a few people test positive for the flu. And then what we've seen most recently is a new, somewhat similar to RSV, called human metapneumovirus. I know, right? Yeah, it's a mouthful. I had to look it up. But human metapneumovirus, it is very similar to RSV. It's cough, you have flu-like-ish symptoms where you have a fever, kind of body aches and chill, but more respiratory, runny nose. Obviously, with the weather keeping us on our toes, it's hard to associate if it's allergies or a cold. But I do recommend if you're having more of those persistent cough, cold-like symptoms, to wear a mask if you'd like. That obviously is a great line of defense. To test positive for this virus, you have to go to a doctor. And really, by the time you get your results back, your intubation period is only 3 days, they're recommending. So hand washing, monitoring your symptoms, as well as wearing that mask use is the best line of defense. And I would recommend bringing that up to your families and visitors who are coming in the building, that if they're feeling they have a deep cough or a cold, or they're feeling under the weather, maybe they would like to reschedule their visit. Just because, again, it is contagious. We've had a few people test positive for it and isolate, and they are recovering, but I just want you all to be aware, as that is something that is going around Milwaukee County. Any questions for me? All right. Yeah.
When you mentioned the mask, I noticed a number of people turned around and looked at my mask. To my knowledge, I don't have the illness, but what I do know is when you have millions of people who look at the clips together, there's gonna be a ton of new viruses that go around, and I'm protecting myself from them.
And we appreciate that. All right, well, I know I got overzealous and put the cart before the horse on saying a 30-minute meeting, just too many good conversations and questions, but we appreciate you all attending, and we'll get you all to meditate now for after this, otherwise we'll see you next month.